Офигеть!
Охуеть! Бля, сейчас взрывная волна дойдет до нас.
Ты прикалываешься?
Смотри.
Russia is losing allies left and right. The latest betrayal comes from the Middle East, where three energy heavyweights, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE, just snubbed Vladimir Putin by refusing to attend his most important summit. This forced the Kremlin to cancel the Russia-Arab conference just days before it was supposed to take place. But the embarrassment did not stop there. As Russia's influence around the world collapses, Saudi Arabia just boosted oil production, sinking global prices and costing Putin billions in revenue. This is a deliberate strategic counterattack that has plunged Russia's oil revenues by 21% year on year. Putin's war is now facing a desperate problem. Russia can only survive by offering sweet discount on its oil. But this is an offer the Russian economy cannot afford. The moment has come, the war is coming home, and Putin's diplomatic empire is beginning to crumble. The situation is so bad that Russian officials are publicly complaining about not being invited to important summits. I don't think I have ever seen a country do that. Take a look at this image. Everyone was in Egypt for the peace summit. Everyone except Russia. Sergei Lavrov was not happy about this. Yeah, I can only note that the invitations were sent by the summit hosts. I looked again at the list of countries participating in the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh today. There are more than 20 countries at various levels. At the level of leaders, ministers, and even at the level of embassies. Why is Russia not participating in this summit? Even though Russia has always played an important mediating role in this conflict within the framework of the Quartet, and even in the current conflicting bilateral relations with Israel and Hamas, and has had a positive role in the release of some hostages. Why is Russia not in charge today?
Нет в Шарм-эль-Шейхе.
Я могу только...
I can only note that the invitations were sent by the summit hosts. The invitation was sent by, this is the Egyptian leadership, which, as reported, coordinated its actions with other Arab initiators, but above all with the United States.
Инициаторами, но прежде всего с Соединенными Штатами.
But you see, this was nothing compared to world leaders just not replying to your text, or I mean your invitation. Back in April, Putin first announced the plans for Arab-Russia conference. Kremlin had hoped that this would be this year's most important foreign policy initiative. It was intended to signal to the United States and the West that Russia still has support across the Middle East. The event was supposed to boost Putin's standing in the region. As many of you guys may know, Russia's influence is kind of fading in that area. Its economy, its military, and even its diplomatic bandwidth has been all consumed because of the Ukrainian invasion. We saw this in real time when Russian-supported Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad fell in just 9 days. We saw this once again when Iran asked Russia for more air defenses during the 12-day war, and Russia just refused. I'm guessing Putin didn't have any extra to spare, as if this all wasn't bad enough. All the while, Russian influence was fading in the region. Putin saw the United States and China expand their role and deepen their foothold. This is exactly why Putin made such a big deal out of this Russia-Arab conference when he announced it back in April. According to Kremlin, they had invited 22 Arab leaders. This included leaders of organizations that represent Arab countries and also leaders of the countries themselves. The goal was to discuss peace, stability, and security. Unfortunately, only a few leaders actually confirmed their participation. These included names like the Syrian president, the new Syrian president, Ahmad al-Sharara, and the head of the Arab League. But the leaders Putin really wanted to meet, like the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed, just didn't reply. And I want to be clear about that. It's not that they said no. They just didn't reply to the invitation. The message was clear. The Arab world is more interested in building ties with Trump instead of a struggling economy like Russia. This type of stuff really hurts Putin's feelings. And we have seen this before. This is where I want to take a quick detour to tell you guys about something that happened in 2017, Trump's first term. He publicly announced that he's pulling us out of this INF treaty, Intermediate Range Nuclear Force Treaty, This was a treaty signed by President Reagan and Gorbachev back in 1987, and it banned all land-based ballistic and cruise missile that had ranges between 300 miles and 3,000 miles. Now Trump gave two reasons for pulling out of this, and Putin did not like hearing them. First, he said, hey, Russia is already violating this treaty, so we're going to pull out anyway. But the second reason was what really hurt Putin. Trump said, China is not in this treaty, and that means they can do all this stuff that we're not doing because we have signed this treaty with Russia. And then Trump said that China is the real country we're competing with. We don't care about what Russia is doing. And that's something Putin did not want to hear. You see, all this time, Putin has been trying to rebuild the Soviet Union, and that doesn't mean just in territorial sense. He also wanted to rebuild the Soviet Union in terms of status in front of other major powers. That means he wants a say in every major decision, and he wants a seat at every important table. When Trump publicly said that US doesn't really care about Russia, it really hurt his ego. And the same thing is happening again when he was not invited to the peace summit and when Arab leaders just did not reply to him. It hurts that little ego Putin has, and it makes him realize that Russia is really just Nigeria with nukes. But anyways, this is still nothing compared to what Saudi did next. They went directly after the Russian money supply.
And I'm also going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil. You got to bring it down, which frankly, I'm surprised they didn't do before the election. That didn't show a lot of love by them not doing it. I was a little surprised by that. If the price came down, the Russia-Ukraine war would end immediately. Right now, the price is high enough that that war will continue. You got to bring down the oil price. You got to end that war.
OPEC has announced that it will be boosting its oil production. That is a great news for everyone who buys oil, but it's not good news for Russia. That's because, you see, Russia doesn't just sell oil. It's like the air they breathe. That's the only thing keeping the economy alive. Take a look at the chart on your screen. The crude oil prices have already been going down all this year. As of my recording, they are under $60. This is already bad enough for Russia, but the Russian oil actually trades a lot lower than the regular oil. That's because Russia is sanctioned. That means they have to offer discounts to convince countries like China, India, and Turkey to buy their oil. Well, that discount is really starting to hurt. In some places, the price of Russian oil is already below $50 per barrel. This is where it's also important to point out that it's costing Russia roughly $40 to $45 per barrel to just pump the oil out of the ground. That means if the oil prices continue falling, Putin will soon have to decide to just stop pumping oil because he will be losing money for every barrel he pumps out. But already this drop in oil price is a huge problem for the Russian parliament, which is trying to figure out some magical accounting trick to create a new budget that keeps this invasion going. 30% of Russia's federal budget comes straight from its oil and gas revenues. And in the last few months, those revenues are really taking a nosedive. In month of October, it was down 21% year on year. That's 1/5. That's something Putin cannot afford while he's trying to get more land in Ukraine. In fact, the situation with the budget is getting so bad that in some regions in Russia, they are already facing food shortages and public transportation is not working. Putin is just not paying people who are working for the government. If this continues, all the bots in our comments who defend Russia every single day will disappear. And trust me when I say this from the bottom of my heart, you guys will not be missed. We have already seen mass layoffs in Russia, and from the looks of it, they will continue for the foreseeable future. That's because you see all these refineries that Ukrainian drones are heading. Well, according to Russian government themselves, it might take them till June 2026 to actually repair some of these. That's a huge problem considering 1/3 of Russian refineries have already been damaged by Ukraine. The reason it's going to take them so long is because you see these refineries were built using Western parts and Western companies. Now that Russia is under sanctions, it's having a very hard time to get those replacement parts. And it cannot just go to Temu.com and get some cheap knockoff because you can't do that with refineries, apparently. So to make up for this lost revenue, let's call it Putin is raising taxes on Russians. That's something we have covered multiple times. But Russians are not happy about those taxes. He has raised the VAT tax to 22%. That's like the sales tax. So imagine you're buying something and more than 1/5 of the price is just taxes. And on top of that, he has increased the number of small businesses who will have to pay taxes, and they're not happy about it. Just look at this clip.
Я в шоке пребываю.
I am shocked by the good news. For an hour, I was practically talking to my accountant about changes in our tax system. Many of you have probably heard that VAT rates are going up. As soon as I start talking about it, immediately tears come down because besides increasing the rate of NDS, we face a ban on all special taxes, the abolition of all special tax regimes. These are patents, interest rates at which we cannot yet be payers, on which we may not yet be VAT payers. The size of these rates is reduced from 60 million per year up to 10 million. While this sounds very global, you know, millions, when calculated per month, it's a very modest sum. This means that a huge number of entrepreneurs, they work honestly, earn their living through honest labor,
Честно работают, зарабатывают своим трудом, честным трудом, стараются
and
делать
strive to produce high-quality products. Very soon, we won't have the opportunity to do that because finding an extra 150 to 200,000 rubles a month for an entrepreneur like me is simply impossible. It's just unrealistic. I don't know where these figures come from. I don't understand why those in government believe this is fair and that we can somehow earn enough to cover that amount. We cannot. The law has not yet been passed. It is currently in reading, and the government is watching the reaction and assesses possible risks. So here's my reaction. And the risk is very simple, to be left without a segment of good small businesses which creates quality products. We all risk going extinct like dinosaurs. Simply because we'll no longer be needed, most of us will simply close down. In fact, what's being proposed to me now is to work, and for that, trade is too sophisticated and complicated a method. We are absolutely ordinary people.
способ. Мы абсолютно
Funny as it sounds, I used to wear this same skirt when I was still married, and I've been divorced for 6 years now. I bought the lowest quality apartment on a mortgage, and I'm paying it off regularly because large companies can afford to sell poor quality products for a lot of money, while small businesses can't.
большие деньги. Малый бизнес себе позволить такого не может.
That's all the update I have for you guys. If you enjoy these videos, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below. And we're trying to hit 2 million subscribers before the end of the year. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.